The story opens in darkness beneath a mountain. The air is thick with dust and heat. Hammers strike stone in a steady rhythm, echoing through narrow tunnels. By torchlight, veins of silver glimmer like frozen lightning trapped inside the earth. Men dig deep, deeper than daylight, deeper than safety, chasing metal that will never stay here. This is where Spain's empire truly begins. Not in palaces, not in battlefields, but underground, in silence and sweat. Spain did not conquer the world with ideas or machines. It conquered it with metal torn from the ground and shipped across an ocean. From these mines, silver begins a long journey. It is hauled out in raw chunks, refined, stamped, and packed into chests. Then it moves downhill, to ports, to ships waiting on restless water. Galleons cross the Atlantic heavy with cargo, their hulls riding low under the weight of American silver. When they arrive in Seville, bells ring and crowds gather. Vaults fill. Ledgers swell with numbers that feel unreal. Europe watches in awe as wealth pours into Spain faster than any kingdom in history had ever known. On the surface, this looks like destiny fulfilled. Endless wealth suggests endless power. Silver buys soldiers, ships, alliances, and obedience. It pays for wars in Italy, fortresses in the Netherlands, and influence in courts far from Iberia. Spain stands at the center of a growing world, its metal accepted everywhere, its authority rarely questioned. For a moment in history, it appears unstoppable. The flow of silver feels as permanent as the mountains it came from. But history rarely rewards appearances. Beneath the glow of candlelit chambers and gold-edged maps, something begins to shift. The same silver that built Spain's empire also starts to change it. Quietly, invisibly. This is the contrarian truth that shadows the story from the beginning. Spain's global empire was weakened by the very silver that made it rich. The treasure did not simply add strength. It altered behavior, incentives, and choices. It changed what leaders feared and what they ignored. This is not a story about greed alone. It is a story about what happens when wealth arrives faster than wisdom. Spain did not slowly build its power through generations of trade, manufacturing, and reform. It inherited sudden riches on a scale never seen before. The earth itself seemed to pay tribute. When money flows like this, discipline becomes optional. Hard decisions can be postponed. Structural problems can be ignored. The empire stops asking how wealth is created and starts asking only how to move it, guard it, and spend it. As silver floods in, prices rise. What once felt abundant begins to feel expensive. Habits change. Nobles expand estates instead of investing in production. The crown funds wars rather than reforms. Why cultivate industries at home when ships arrive full of metal from abroad? Why innovate when the mines keep delivering? Spain begins to live off income rather than capacity. The distinction matters, even if it is not obvious at first. Think about that moment. Imagine standing in Seville as another fleet unloads its cargo. Chests stacked high, guards everywhere, accountants rushing to count and record. It feels like proof that the system works, that the empire is blessed, that the future is secure. In moments like this, caution sounds like pessimism. Warnings feel unnecessary. The silver keeps coming. The world keeps accepting it. Confidence hardens into certainty. But wealth has side effects. As money pours in, it reshapes expectations. The crown grows accustomed to immediate funding. Armies are raised quickly because they can be paid quickly. Loans are taken confidently because repayment seems guaranteed by future shipments. The state begins to borrow against silver that has not yet arrived. Tomorrow's metal is promised to pay for today's wars. It feels rational. It feels efficient. It also builds fragility into the heart of the empire. Spain's leaders do not see this as weakness. They see it as leverage. Silver buys time. It buys loyalty. It buys the ability to fight on multiple fronts at once. And for a while it works. Spain dominates European politics not through production or trade, but through payments. Influence flows outward with the metal. Yet every payment sent abroad is silver that will not circulate at home. Every war financed delays the need to confront deeper economic questions. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, Spain's relationship with wealth changes. Money is no longer something to be cultivated through effort and planning. It becomes something expected, something assumed. The mines will deliver. The fleets will arrive. The numbers will add up. When problems appear, more silver seems like the answer. It is a dangerous logic because it treats wealth as a constant rather than a process. The empire mistakes income for strength. Silver is revenue, not resilience. It does not teach efficiency. It does not reward innovation. It does not force adaptation. Instead, it allows systems to remain unchanged long after the world around them begins to shift. Spain grows powerful, but not flexible. Rich, but not productive. Dominant, but increasingly dependent on a single source of wealth pulled from foreign soil. This dependence carries a hidden risk. The empire's power now rests on factors it cannot fully control. Mines can flood or collapse. Indigenous labor systems can break down. Ships can sink, be delayed, or captured. Yet the empire's commitments assume uninterrupted flow. Armies march, debts accumulate, and expectations rise based on silver that is still underground or still at sea. The margin for error shrinks with every success. The stakes could not be higher. Control of Europe, dominance of global trade routes, and the future shape of empire itself all hinge on this system holding together. Spain stands at the center of a new global economy, connected to continents it barely understands, confident that metal can solve any problem. The silver shines bright enough to blind decision-makers to what it cannot fix. And so the central question hangs in the air like smoke in a candlelit council chamber. Did Spain's silver finance global power, or did it quietly sabotage it? Was the metal a foundation, or a trap disguised as a gift? The answer does not arrive all at once. It emerges slowly, through inflation, debt, and missed opportunities. The seeds are planted here, in the mines, in the vaults, in the belief that wealth itself is proof of strength. The story of Spain's empire is not a simple rise and fall. It is a warning written in silver, a reminder that money moving fast can feel like progress, even as it hollows out the systems meant to sustain power. What happens next will reveal whether the richest empire on earth understands the difference. To understand why the trap closed so effectively, it is necessary to see why Spain looked unstoppable. From the outside, the empire appeared invincible. Its banners flew across continents. Its armies marched under a single crown. Its fleets ruled the sea lanes that connected Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Americas. No rival possessed such reach. No rival commanded such flows of wealth. Spain was not merely a European power. It was the first empire to operate on a global scale, and silver was the thread stitching that world together. In the Americas, the mines worked without pause. High in the Andes and deep beneath foreign soil, laborers dug day and night. The metal they extracted did not stay local. It moved relentlessly outward, carried by mule trains, then by ships, feeding a vast commercial circuit. From American mountains to Iberian ports, from Spanish vaults to European markets, and onward to Asia, silver became the universal medium of exchange. Spain sat at the center of this network, touching economies it barely understood. In Madrid and Seville, the signs of power were everywhere. Palaces expanded. Churches rose skyward, heavy with stone and symbolism. Administrators filled offices with paper and seals, confident that funds would arrive to support every decree. Armies marched across Europe, paid in silver minted from distant continents. Wars that would have bankrupted other states were sustained year after year. The illusion was complete. Spain looked not just wealthy, but permanent. Silver made this possible. It paid soldiers on distant fronts who never saw the mines that funded them. It financed cathedrals whose builders never questioned where the money came from. It bought influence in courts far beyond Iberia. Rulers who lacked Spain's metal borrowed it. Merchants who distrusted Spanish politics still trusted Spanish silver. The coin itself carried authority. It crossed borders more easily than armies ever could. This acceptance gave Spain confidence bordering on certainty. If everyone wanted its silver, then Spain assumed everyone needed Spain. The empire became the clearinghouse of global payments. Asian goods flowed into Europe through silver exchanges. European debts were settled with Spanish metal. The world seemed to orbit around Iberian vaults. It felt like economic gravity itself, pulling value inward. But easy money changes behavior, and the change is subtle at first. Local industries begin to struggle. Why produce at home when imported goods are cheaper and plentiful? Why invest in workshops when foreign merchants arrive with finished products, paid for in silver that cost Spain nothing to extract directly? Domestic production starts to lose status. Manufacturing becomes less attractive than managing inflows of wealth. Merchants adjust their habits. Instead of building factories, they waited docks. Instead of training skilled workers, they finance voyages. Profits come faster from trade than from production. The economy begins to tilt away from making things and toward moving things. Silver rewards circulation, not creation. Over time, this shift reshapes priorities across society. The state follows the same logic. With silver arriving regularly, the crown grows comfortable borrowing heavily. Loans are taken with confidence, secured by future shipments not yet mined or shipped. Debt becomes routine, even strategic. Why raise taxes or reform institutions when tomorrow's silver can cover today's shortfall? Fiscal discipline weakens because consequences feel distant and abstract. And for a while, the system delivers exactly what it promises. Armies remain in the field. Rivals are contained. Prestige grows. Spain's reputation as the wealthiest power in Europe hardens into assumed fact. The empire appears to have solved the problem that haunted every ruler before it: how to pay for power without restraint. Standing on a dock as chests of metal are unloaded, it is easy to believe this flow will never end. The ships keep coming. The ledgers keep growing. Each arrival confirms the last. Skepticism fades. Warnings sound unnecessary. Reform feels optional. After all, why fix what seems to work better than anything the world has ever seen? Yet beneath the gold-lit ceilings and polished marble floors, the foundation quietly weakens. The empire mistakes movement for momentum. Silver passes through Spain as quickly as it arrives, flowing outward to pay for imports, debts, and wars. Little of it stays long enough to build productive capacity. Wealth circulates, but systems do not mature. Spain becomes rich without becoming efficient, powerful without becoming adaptable. The empire grows used to solutions that involve spending rather than building. Over time, this habit becomes structural. Decisions are made assuming silver will always be available, always sufficient, always accepted. The economy loses its ability to function without constant inflows. The illusion is powerful precisely because it is supported by reality. The silver is real. The ships are real. The power is real. What is missing is resilience. Other nations watch closely. Some learn different lessons. They see that metal alone does not guarantee strength. They invest in ships, workshops, and financial tools that turn money into systems. Spain, by contrast, doubles down on extraction and expansion. The empire leans harder into what made it rich, believing abundance itself is proof of wisdom. The circulation of silver feels like creation, even as domestic capacity erodes. It is a slow trade, made quietly, prosperity exchanged for dependence. The trap does not snap shut yet. The empire still shines, still commands, still dominates maps and markets. But the illusion of strength has settled in, and illusions are dangerous at scale. Spain stands at the height of its power, convinced that the flow of silver is the same thing as economic gravity. The question is not whether the empire is wealthy. It is whether that wealth is building anything that can endure when the flow falters. The cracks do not announce themselves. They spread quietly, hidden beneath confidence and ceremony. As silver continues to flood Europe, something fundamental begins to shift. Prices rise. What money could buy yesterday now costs more tomorrow. Bread, clothing, tools, and labor all grow more expensive. The metal that was supposed to make Spain stronger starts to dilute its own value. This is the unseen mechanism at work, the one few recognize until it is too late. Wages do not keep pace. Soldiers, workers, and artisans find that their pay buys less each year. Contracts signed in good times feel heavier as costs climb. Debts grow more difficult to service. Spain is still rich, but daily life becomes more expensive. The empire possesses vast wealth, yet its purchasing power erodes. This is the paradox of abundance. More money exists, but each unit matters less. At the heart of the problem is imbalance. Silver expands the money supply, but Spain does not expand what it produces. Productivity remains stagnant while prices accelerate. Wealth grows on paper, but output does not. The economy inflates without strengthening. It is like pumping air into a structure without reinforcing its frame. From the outside, it looks larger. Inside, it becomes fragile. Other nations respond differently. They feel the same price pressures, but they adapt. Workshops multiply. Shipyards expand. Financial systems evolve to manage risk and credit. Trade becomes more sophisticated. These societies turn money into capacity. Spain does not. It continues to rely on extraction and military spending, convinced that possession of silver is enough. This difference matters when disruption strikes. When shipments are delayed by storms, piracy, or war, the system seizes up. Soldiers go unpaid. Credit tightens. Confidence wavers. The empire has built obligations that assume constant flow. Any interruption exposes how dependent everything has become on metal still at sea. The crown turns to borrowing to bridge the gaps. Loans are taken from foreign bankers, secured by promises of future silver. At first, this seems manageable. The metal usually arrives, but each delay reduces its real value. Inflation means that when the silver finally lands, it buys less than expected. The math no longer works the way it once did. Defaults follow. Not once, but repeatedly. Each default damages trust, yet lenders return, drawn by the same silver that caused the problem. Foreign bankers gain leverage over the empire's finances. Decisions once made in royal councils now depend on creditors abroad. Spain owns the silver, but others increasingly control the terms. This is the turning point. Power begins to drift away from the empire that digs the metal toward those who manage trade, credit, and production. Spain's wealth becomes a global resource rather than a national advantage. Its silver stabilizes other economies, even as Spain struggles to stabilize its own. Rivals learn quickly. They outproduce instead of outdig. They build ships that move goods efficiently, not just treasure. They develop institutions that survive interruptions. Spain remains vast and feared, but its engine misfires. The empire still looks powerful, yet its foundations are increasingly brittle. Ask the question that leaders avoid. If money comes easily, does it teach discipline, or does it erase it? Spain's experience answers quietly but firmly. Easy wealth delays reform. It masks inefficiency. It encourages short-term solutions. Over time, it replaces strategy with habit. The silver is no longer pure strength. It becomes exposure. Every shipment that fails to arrive on time threatens collapse. Every loan assumes a future that grows less certain. The empire's size amplifies its weakness. Maintaining dominance now requires more silver than ever, even as each shipment delivers less real power. Spain is still an empire. Its maps remain vast. Its name still carries weight, but the balance has shifted. Control no longer lies solely with ownership of metal. It lies with those who can turn money into lasting systems. The world is changing, and Spain's silver, once its greatest asset, is no longer enough to keep pace. Collapse does not arrive with fire and sudden silence. It arrives slowly, disguised as endurance. Spain remains proud, ceremonial, and heavily armed, but increasingly hollow. The rituals of empire continue even as the substance drains away. Armies still march. Titles still matter. Court life still glitters. Yet beneath the surface, stagnation sets in. Debt hardens into permanence. Adaptation stalls. The empire survives, but it no longer evolves. Cities that once buzzed with trade grow quieter. Commercial energy shifts elsewhere. Ports still receive ships, but fewer bring opportunity. The economy feels heavier, slower, burdened by habits formed in easier times. Spain remains committed to extraction and militarization, even as those strategies yield diminishing returns. The world it helped connect no longer revolves around it. The silver keeps moving, but not in Spain's favor. It finances the rise of rivals. It stabilizes foreign markets. It feeds systems that transform money into ships, factories, and credit networks. Other nations learn the lesson Spain never fully does. Wealth must be built, not just acquired. Production outlasts possession. Systems outlive windfalls. Spain struggles to adjust. Reforms come late and half-formed. The structures shaped by centuries of easy silver resist change. Social values, economic priorities, and political expectations all reflect an earlier age of abundance. The empire knows how to command, but not how to recalibrate. Pride delays realism. Tradition delays innovation. The decline is not dramatic, but it is decisive. Power slips gradually into new hands. Influence fades without a single moment of surrender. Spain becomes a presence rather than a driver. Its empire leaves behind monuments and memories, but not momentum. The silver that once unified global markets now moves freely without anchoring Spain at the center. The aftermath reshapes the world. Globalization accelerates, but on different terms. Production matters more than conquest. Credit outweighs raw treasure. Networks prove stronger than empires. Spain's experience becomes a warning etched into economic history, studied long after its fleets lose dominance. The lesson endures because it repeats. Sudden capital inflows, resource booms, and easy money still promise strength, while hiding risk. They reward delay, not discipline. Spain's silver shows what happens when income replaces strategy. When wealth arrives faster than institutions can absorb it, power becomes temporary. Imagine an empire drowning in wealth, yet starving for resilience. That is the paradox Spain leaves behind. The ships, the mines, the treasure all help build a global economy. They also proved a hard truth. Money alone does not create power. What is built with it decides everything. History does not whisper this lesson. It leaves it in plain sight, buried beneath mountains of silver. Those who study it are offered a choice. Learn from the metal, or repeat its mistake. If this story matters, subscribe for more, and share it with those who still believe wealth guarantees strength.